What up, my fellow Survivor lovers? Welcome to Survivor Historian, part of the Challenge Historian podcast feed. I am your host and born-again Survivor superfan, Jacob Hollabaugh. Thank you so much for being here with me this week. And with me, as always, I have my very own personal Survivor historian, my good pal, the great and powerful Tony Lance is here. Tony, how we doing this week?
Not too bad at all. It was quite possibly one of the strangest episodes of Survivor that I've seen in a while, but I'm interested to get your take on it and excited to break it down.
Yes, and I'm gonna don my Q skirt real quick to get this to make sure that I have all the storage I need while we record this. It actually does work. You know, it's not the worst idea ever. We will talk about the Q skirts and a lot about Q and everything else that went down in this episode that did at least live up to the, we discussed at the end of last week. Is this trailer like, gonna actually, they make it seem like this is gonna be the best episode of the season and like the craziest episode of the season, and it did. I mean, I hope there's better episodes coming because that means it would stay amazing or whatever. I hope this wasn't like a peak and now it's somehow like boring or something. I don't think that's going to be the case, but it did live up to that. And there is a lot to discuss. We will walk through the episode as always. We will hand out some awards. We will update our power rankings. Quick programming reminders before we dive in on Challenge Historian side. Obviously, All Stars 3 is rolling. Those recaps are coming out Wednesday afternoons for challenge lovers out there. Check those out, and it's just going to be All Stars 3 recaps and Survivor 46 recaps for the foreseeable future. What's going down over at Challenge Fandom right now?
Minus the Survivor recaps, the exact same thing. We are just doing Challenge recaps. I'm peppering in some Survivor wherever I can, and Katie is our Taylor Swift correspondent, so she is all in on that.
And so she hasn't slept for a day or so here, a couple days?
Pretty much, yeah. She's been rocking with T-Swift since the new album dropped. And yeah, I mean, we recorded last night. We did our recap last night. It was a lot of fun. It was also like a very intense episode over there. So it was very interesting to watch them back to back for notes.
Yes. Yeah, it's been the last couple weeks of both shows at the same time have been pretty intense to to watch all, but thankfully for once, All Stars being the drop on Paramount, we can at least I have my mornings, and then I actually have been watching Survivor at 2 weeks in a row. I have watched Survivor live when it aired, which is a really big deal for me. It's
Nice.
not, yes, most weeks it's Tony, let's record on Thursday or Friday, and then 4 hours before, hey, I finally watched the episode, so we can in fact record then. I actually got around to it. So but yeah, I wasn't going to miss this week. I am way too online of a person, and I did not want some weeks I'm okay having things spoiled. I did not want anything of this episode to be spoiled. No. And good thing, because it would have been spoiled because Twitter was on fire in a good way. I didn't even track. We should have added to the award for this week, like best, like funniest tweets from cast members, because there was about 1,000 nominees this week.
I was going to say, I've probably got about 30 screenshots because the people that we watch with aren't super on Twitter. So I was just like firing off tweets that had come through from cast members and other listeners or other fans. Man, they were good. Like this was the best episode for Twitter.
For sure, because every cast member in the episode by the end of it is saying how dumb this all is and how chaotic and dumb everything is. And so no one's going to be offended that it's just all jokes all day on Twitter of like, this is pretty dumb and chaotic, and but fantastic to watch for the most part. So let's go ahead then and dive in. Survivor 46, episode 8. Here we go. Let's, instead of fully walking through fully chronological, let's talk through everything pre-immunity challenge, kind of person by person. Obviously all of it intersects, but I think there's really 4, but 2 of them will kind of group together that people that stand out that are the focus of the pre-immunity challenge setup. The first one is Venus, coming off of last week where she depending who you ask, she and or others pulled off the blind side of Soda in the first true blind side of the season, and what feels like the first big, quote unquote, big move of the season. And of course, we all know what the situation was. Venus did, in fact, on her own, or at least, well, I'm going to actually recap it because it does not seem like the viewing public all is they're kind of more on Tevin's line of thinking, and I felt horrible. I don't know if you saw, Venus deleted her Twitter.
Oh
um
no, I know that she posted and said that she wasn't watching the episode.
yeah, she wasn't going to watch, but then she full on she deleted her Twitter. I do not know if she reactivated it now, but as of like yesterday, she had deleted it and removed
Wow.
it because some people were being mean to her, which there's going to be some jokes made about it here, but I want to start with, I am in love with Venus. She's just the best.
She's
And
on my draft team.
yeah, and this situation makes perfect sense of why it is so great. And I don't blame Tevin, but I do blame everyone else watching that can't like see what went down, which is Venus on her own was like, I want to like actually do something here. What I want to do is get Soda out. She goes to Charlie and Maria, and Charlie and Maria should get a little more credit. Everyone, it's a group effort in the end. What happened last week? Because Charlie and Maria are like, oh, that's interesting. We've been approached about this before. You clearly don't know that. And so there's four Nami who have all decided to target the same one of that four. So like, this is great. We'll just let you all think you were the first to bring it up. So in Venus's mind, she was. In Tevin's mind, he was. In Liz's mind, she was, which we'll talk about them both in a moment. But by the way the vote goes, Tevin does do the safety vote that we do find out after last week's episode, or coming
Which was
into this
nice
one.
to get that clarification because everybody
Yeah.
was back and forth on whether it was a safety vote, whether it was him giving up on his plan. So it was nice to finally see like that moment. And I know they saved it just so that you had to like dwell on it for a week, which Survivor doesn't do often. So it was nice to see a carryover like that really left the thread hanging.
Yeah. And I fully believe like it was very believable. Like this was a safety vote. This is not trying to like backtrack and, make it sound as best it could. But in her mind, she's like, Tevin voted for me. No one told me that they had heard of this before I said it. So she blindsided him, Soda. And again, the viewing public, I would think, should be able to put this together of like group effort. Yes, all three of you wanted Soda out, and all three of you pitched the other two people, Charlie and Maria, at different times. And they were just like, sure, great. Everyone keeps saying the same. Great, fantastic. And so they all think it's just their idea, which is the part where it becomes an issue because Venus, they come back to camp, and
it's a lot.
The other groups there first. We'll talk about Q in a minute being all upset that no one wants to strategize while the group's at tribal. But then Venus leads their tribe back in. Everyone's kind of shocked to see her, and she is just relishing in it. She's having so much fun. And she calls Tevin to his face. Like when she's asked what happened, her version of what happened is, Tevin lied to me. I saw through his bullshit, and we blindsided Soda, and like Tevin sucks. And I'm just like, whoa. You just say Soda seemed like the biggest threat. There was different names. I was a target, but like we got Soda out or whatever. Like what? Why do we have to be this mean to Tevin? This seems like an unforced error here.
Yeah, it was a lot. I don't know that I've really seen much of that before. Like just flat out coming back to camp and being like, this guy's an asshole and tried to vote for me yet again. So I took out one of the people he's closest to. Karma's a bitch.
And it would be a bad move, I think, bad strategy to do this towards anyone, but especially Tevin, who you're like, the main reason you see him as a threat is because everyone loves him. And so like, it's even more strange to say, I'm going to call the person everyone here loves the most. Probably him and Charlie are probably the two, like, seem to be like 100% of the people on the beach like them and are friends with them, whether they're working with them or not. But to call that guy, like, I saw through his bullshit, he's a liar, screw that guy, is just, it seems like a bit of a miscalculation. But she does eventually make peace. And for those just listening, I'm making big air quotes right now. They have a conversation a little bit later, right before we see them go to the immunity challenge, but they have a conversation, and she again is just a little too, enjoying this moment a little too much.
Yep.
And she's like, do you want to know how I did it? And he, I think, handles this situation pretty, I don't know, I feel it.
His voice
She's,
does, his face doesn't.
yeah, I feel like he gives away what his true intentions are, but maybe she's just enjoying it so much that she's either doesn't care or isn't fully picking up on it. But he's like, yes, explain to me, Venus, exactly what you did. And her explanation is just, I wanted, everyone was targeting me. I wanted soda, so soda's gone. Like, she doesn't actually like explain. Maybe she does and we don't get to see it. But I was actually looking for her to be like, this is the conversation I had with Maria. This is the conversation I had with Charlie. This is how I like pitched them or whatever. And it's just very simply, no, I just wanted you to say out loud that I did that and that I'm good and you're not. And like that's what this conversation is about, which is great.
Oh yeah.
But again, strategically, I don't know.
A certain level of pettiness that is rarely seen on Survivor, which is welcome. I think I just saw a clip from The Pod Has Spoken, because Johnny Fairplay was on, and he had said, like, I want Venus every season, but we don't want Venus, because they talked about the fact that, like, she would watch it back, she would edit herself, she would try to, like, go too far the other way, potentially, but, like, every season, there needs to be a Venus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I listen to is the one show I listen to every week, and I will say, not a fan of. I almost didn't listen because he was not very. They had a hard time probably pulling which clips were enjoyable to put out to the public because he kind of sucked.
I'm not like super huge on Johnny Fairplay, nor have I really ever been. So
yeah.
When I saw it, I was like, I don't know, but I think I was brushing my teeth this morning and it came on and I was like, okay, well, I'll see what they're talking about.
Yeah, I still haven't watched House of Villains, but I've been meaning to, and he made me not want to watch the first season. Like,
the other Johnny made me disinterested in watching the first season. And then I watched the first episode.
The two of them together manufacturing is just too much manufacturing going on.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I watched the first episode. I was like, nope, don't need it.
Yeah. She's just riding high, and again, deservedly, but I don't know about these moments of gameplay. We'll talk later. I actually think she has good gameplay moments later on in the episode. Let's move to Tevin and Liz, though. They both, as we say, they want the credit. They have a claim to the credit, as Liz is correct in saying, I've from day one been the one person who's like, if we ever have to go to tribal, I think it should be soda. She's been, on that since day one, and obviously stuck with the plan and did vote for soda. Tevin is correct in that, in his view and eyes, he was the first one to tell, and I think was actually, as far as we know, the first one to tell Maria and Charlie, this is what we want to do. And so was the first to kind of get them on board. They both have
he told Maria on the beach. Or he told Liz on the beach, rather, what was going on.
Yeah. And so then we see Liz and Tevin on the beach again, both complaining of Venus is taking all this credit. No one knows we did this, but they both are okay complaining about it to each other in private and are not going to be trying to publicize this. Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think they should be a little more forward immediately in, like, maybe not in a group setting, maybe in group setting, I don't know, whatever you think, but like two people individually, like confirming with Maria and Charlie, like, hey, who'd you hear that from first, or like just want to like get a read? What do you think their strategy should be here?
I think Tevin did, because Tevin kind of like whispered to Charlie at the campfire that Venus thought that she was kind of orchestrating the whole thing. But I think that it was a good idea to kind of have that conversation elsewhere, because really anybody who goes, most people who go to the jury in the next couple of episodes will be able to disprove what Venus had done, or at least poke holes in it, because they all have merit, to the point where Liz like flat out said that basically that it was her plan during that conversation, and Tevin just didn't register it, just like kept
Yeah.
talking right over it. And
I felt so bad for
I
her.
know, because I actually like I've come around on Liz a lot as a player, and even more so this episode. But yeah, like she almost like pretty much flat out said like, yeah, it was my plan, and then he just kept going like, yeah, I can't believe we did that. I was like, okay, uh,
Yeah. Which I don't know that she has gets the credit of, like, she was saying, I remember the few times we got a confessional from anyone on Nami as they
yeah,
continued to win, trying to set up the, like, if we ever lose, and she did say soda from the beginning. I don't, maybe they didn't show it to us, but Tevin and Venus, we both saw go in the moment last episode and have conversations with Maria and Charlie and say, this is what I want to do. We and then we only saw Liz like confirming that
right,
with a bunch of people and, you know, being really gung-ho about it, but we didn't like her lead the, again, there's the two other people here, Maria and Charlie, that are really like, who got them to vote, because that's really kind of the doing it portion.
yeah.
And I don't think she gets as much of that credit.
I
So,
think, yeah, I
but I
think
think Tevin could at least be like, yeah, you like give her some reassurance of something, because I don't think any of them. Liz is the only one maybe handling this correct from a strategic standpoint, even if she is, you know, not feeling like she's getting what she needs in this moment. I think she's the only one that's actually like not doing anything wrong. I think Tevin and Venus are both missing cues, or, you know, so kind of high on their own supply to a certain degree that they're like ignoring things. Like Liz just said to your face she thinks it was her move. You guys should discuss that
yeah.
maybe or something. You know, I think they're both missing out something here.
And that's the thing too, right? Like Liz is a more subdued player than Venus or Tevin. Not to say that she's subdued, but just when you compare her to those two big personalities. So I wouldn't even be surprised if she did go to Charlie and Maria to orchestrate that they wouldn't perceive it as going on behalf of the plan that was orchestrated by Tevin or Venus, rather than this is Liz's plan, just because of the type of edit that Liz is getting. Not sure how it's actually playing out on Island.
Yeah, and I'm trying to pull my notes back up. I feel like maybe there was an independent conversation that we saw between Liz and Charlie or Maria.
There
Um,
was a bit later, but it was about like this vote, but it seemed very comfortable. So when it was very comfortable, it kind of gave me a bit more credence to the fact that I think everybody independently did go talk to the two of them.
yeah. Well, we'll be talking about those three more later, but now we've got to move to the star of the episode for sure. The star of the season, probably right now. And that is Q. There's a lot to get to with Q. Let's go kind of one by one here. The episode opens with the brief moment we get of Ben in the whole episode,
Yep.
which we do get a deleted scene later that Ben is, you know, very much out on an island on his own right now, quite literally and figuratively. Now that Tim is gone, but they get back to camp and Ben is, you know, upset about Tim being gone, and the rest of their group, the half of the tribe that is there, is, you know, consoling him and just kind of chilling, while Q
Fuming.
literally just walks down to the beach by himself, expecting, without say, I don't think he says anything to
I
Ben
saw
of like, let's
nothing.
go talk. He
Yep.
just literally expects, if I go to the beach, the person I want to come talk to me about the game will know, oh shit, I have a meeting with Q on the beach. Let's go. So he sits down there fuming that Ben won't come talk to him, and then that the whole group is all like not strategizing or playing the
Right.
game in this time that they have between them getting there and the other tribe getting back, which is, I would assume, a lot of time.
I
Tribal
would
council
assume
takes a
so.
long time to film. My question was kind of like, do they get sent back to the beach immediately or not?
Well,
Which,
even
like, I
if
don't
they
know what else
did,
they would do,
yeah,
but
even if they did, they would have to go. They get locked down when they travel from point A to point B, where they're not allowed to talk to each other. So I don't know how long that trip is, because I forget I forget who had said it, but I feel like a lot of the times when they're taking them from point A to point B, they will take some extra like twists and turns to disorient them as far as like where they're actually going, as far as the different places of filming. But yeah, they would be locked down. So depending on how long it took them to get back to camp, even if like when they landed, the other group was starting their trip back, it would still be a decent amount of time.
Yeah. Well, and just, I mean, tribal councils take a
Couple
while to
hours.
film. Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, you probably had 1 to 2 hours at least by yourself on the beach. So I get that Q maybe's, I get wanting to be like, let's take advantage of this time. But
I
as is
think
the
they
case,
did.
kind of, yeah, I
Like,
think they did. They bought because like you like Ben is now the lone person here. Like that's
yep.
a person we can rope in, and we do
And
that by being
that's how
nice
you
to him.
get Ben. Like
Yeah.
Ben vibes on people and like honest conversations, because he actually said to Tiff, he's like, what can you guys possibly say to me other than that we're vibing right now? Like, what what is there to actually talk about? Like, Tim's gone, I'm by myself, and you guys are just going to try to placate the situation. But I think that whole conversation with Hunter and Kenzie and Tiff did way more for the game than having a strategy session.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Q's problem comes down to I feel like he wants to play the survivor in 1 day, in like
Yeah.
8 hours. Like he truly thinks every moment, every minute, every second we should be playing quote unquote the game. And if he could have it his way, it would literally be like we vote someone out every hour. Like that's how
Yeah.
fast we like play this thing. And so I feel like that becomes his problem both in a scramble leading up to tribal situation of like how can we be changing plans or like even discussing other names, like we say something, we do it, we move on, but and like in his mind like this stuff just happens immediately and there is no downtime, which would be fascinating to see him play the 39. Like the
Yeah.
like if you plopped Q in like season 8 of this show or whatever, it'd be like, Q, no, we literally hang out for like 3 or 4 days and no one gives a shit about anything but actually surviving, and then we kind of play the game for a few hours at the end
Yeah.
of that and then we go back to surviving. He would lose it. But when he's not playing the game, he is pitching business ideas such as the Q skirt,
Yes.
which we're
Very
rocking
nice.
my. Oh, I have it. Wait, the hood has to be out,
Yeah.
and then you got the hood, and but the hood, you put the hood inside out to make it still its own pouch. It's
It
just
looked
very
like it, but I
confusing.
feel like it would make more sense if the part where your head goes is facing outward. Like, that'll probably be version 2.0 of the Q skirt once
Yeah,
some modifications and
it's hard to get the pouch and the hood both accessible. But either way, he pitches the Q skirt. And do you think you'll buy one? Because he's definitely going to try to sell a hoodie that is called the Q skirt.
it's true. I won't, but but I will say I did purchase a Ben Katzman band shirt yesterday,
Oh,
and
nice.
it
What's his
was
band called?
I'm not sure what the band is called itself, but it was Ben Katzman as like with like the Motorhead font, um and him shredding on top of an alligator, which is pretty badass. And the purchase of said shirt also got me a free download of Transcendental Shreditation, is the name of the album. And I won't lie, man, like I'm enjoying it a lot. It's very akin to the music that I listen to anyway. So I've been enjoying it. I was listening to it last night before we recorded. It's
Wow.
yeah, it was good.
Okay. Well, so everyone that wants to listen to Ben, go buy a shirt. I can't wait to see the shirt on maybe a future recording here.
You certainly
Um,
will.
so Q skirt, not much of a hit, although it does at least seem like Tevin and Hunter are both like enjoying the spectacle that is Q pitching this, and Charlie as well kind of is like enjoying, and it feels like it might be like they're all enjoying the fact that Q is willing to not play the game for a minute and
Yeah.
just like goof around and have fun, and they're like, wow, what a reprieve from how this is going. um but it struck me a lot as how much editing matters in this show, because all I've been thinking about with Q this in the last episode is there's some similarities to Bruce
Yeah.
last season, and like how it's edited and whose viewpoint. Like last season it was like we are gonna show Bruce and we're gonna give you Katura's viewpoint,
Right.
which is anti and I'm sick of this, and that then becomes the story. versus here, like, I don't, maybe there is none of that going on, but it would be hard pressed to believe that there's not a single person has mentioned like, yeah, Q's like just kind of always going, and it's kind of like always, always something, always this, always that, or whatever. Like, I imagine there's at least someone who has said something seemingly negative in a
Ben,
confessional.
yeah, Ben sort of seemed like the closest when they are at Tribal, and he said that like he and Q don't totally get along, and he does sometimes skirt around Q as much as he can. And I think that was very telling. And if you look at the two personality types, like I can understand why Ben wouldn't want to be too associated with that.
Yeah.
But I found that this scene, like with the Q skirt and everything like that, was a great testament to how good of a player Charlie is. He is an absolute chameleon, and he will pivot how he acts and like cadence and everything else depending on who he's around. Because when they had that conversation, like at Sunrise, he was like one of the boys, and you could tell like I think it was Hunter and Q,
Yeah,
and
Q, Charlie, and Hunter talked
yeah,
at Sunrise.
and he was like totally broing down with them. But then when he talks to Maria, it's totally strategic and like high level. And then when he was talking to Q about the Q skirt, he was just absolutely goofing around and put like no real thought into it. So it's really interesting to see how Charlie is navigating the game, because there's a lot of big personalities now. Like there are a lot of big personalities on this season.
For sure. And speaking of that conversation they have at morning, which is good strategy, and I like Charlie like filling us in on like, uh it's been a huge boon for me to wait. I get up at sunrise, and a few other people usually do, and those are when I've had, some conversations with people I maybe wouldn't have otherwise, and where he has one here where Q and Hunter try to bring him into the six to replace Tim, and Charlie, to their faces, like, yeah, this sounds good. Via confessional, literally says, this never works. Something goes awry. And he says, one of my favorite quotes of the episode, am I the thing that goes awry? What do we, the six was a great idea. I think we both were on board with it initially when we saw that they were actually going to try to put it in practice at the merge. It's obviously, they immediately, Tim gets voted out. Do we think this has any legs at all? Is it also, there's only what, 10 people left right at this point, so
I
like
believe so, yeah.
getting 6 out of 10 makes sense. You're still like, let's get the majority, and that's still 4 rounds of getting someone out, so it still would make sense as like a numbers, but it seems like Q should give up on this,
Because he keeps
or
voting them
others
out.
should. Yeah. Because yeah, he eventually is like, then decides Tiff has to go,
Who
because
is
Tiff
his
does
number
not,
one?
yeah, his number one, who does not say someone's name in the six. She just simply doesn't say, I forget who he pitches to her. Oh, he says Venus, and Tiff is like, I actually think like we're safe having Venus here. Let's
Yeah,
like consider all of our options. Slash, she doesn't quite say it, but this is pre-immunity challenge.
yeah.
And one of the things that like on like Tyson said on Pod Has Spoken, which I definitely agree with, like even in the modern era, there should be no this is who we're doing next before the immunity
No,
challenge.
makes
There should be
zero
what Tiff
sense.
tries to do of like, let's just talk like what are all the different options, so that when we get the rest of the information,
Yeah,
we can then are not have to have the what are the options conversation. We can kind of pick between them. But yeah, he's Q, as again, is just trying to like, this game we vote someone out every hour, and like, so he's just going too fast. So yeah, does the six have any chance? Is it pointless? Who should be into it? Who should not be into it at this point?
I think I think what they've done with the six is they've guaranteed that the other people will band together. Like your Ben's and Liz. Like I feel that what's going to happen is it's going to be the Sega delineation all over again, where Charlie and Maria are in the middle of whether they go with the Hunter and Q and whoever happens to be left in that six, because they keep dropping,
Yeah, because
versus
Tiff
the
won't be
rest
in
of
it
them.
next week. That's for sure.
No, Tiff won't be in it, and like, well, and that's the
Tevin's
thing is,
gone.
yeah, like Charlie did really well with Tiff too. Like I know that we'll get to it later, but Charlie is really good at this game, especially at this portion. But like Tiff said, there's, and it was a bad read by Tevin, but like Tiff said, there's no reason to say anyone's name or really even go that deep into it until you know who has immunity. Because if you get the whole beach to say, we're going to go for Hunter, for example, and then Hunter wins immunity, you're back at square one. Somebody is going to tell Hunter that the entire beach was going to vote for him unless he won immunity, which he then did. And then you've got to scramble. It's going to come back on you. Instead, you just say, there's no point having this conversation until we know who is safe and who is not. But Tevin took that as, well, some people from the six aren't going to be safe, which means that she therefore wants to target people from the six.
Yeah, it's just a miscalculation on both of their
Yeah.
parts against Tiff, who did the right things, at least
Mhm.
we both think, in this moment. Well, it's all put to rest briefly because before there's an immunity challenge, there's a separate game that must be played, which
Absolutely.
is hide and seek. Q pitches everyone on playing hide and seek. We find out from Tiff that Q has been trying to play hide and seek from day one, which I love about him. This
Yep.
is fantastic. And it's also way more fun now with 10 people versus the,
Oh, yeah.
you quickly had 5 and then 4 on your beach. And I can only imagine playing hide and seek with Banu. Just that, I'm sure that would have been, maybe if Banu was it, that could be interesting. But everyone's on board. They all say yes, and they all play. And Charlie is decide. Q does some crazy eeny meeny miny mo games,
but it's definitely, he already knew Charlie was going to be it.
Well, and I wonder, did we just catch the end of it where it was down to Charlie and Liz, or did he just decide it's either Charlie or Liz and I'll eeny, meeny, miny, mo you? I don't know. But yeah, Charlie is chosen. He counts on the beach. Everyone hides. And everyone hides. Everyone does take it serious. Everyone tries to hide in like a pretty real way. Some a little more like Ben. I can't do all the bugs and stuff. So like Ben, you don't need to bury yourself in there. That feels like that would not be enjoyable. But everyone takes it serious, which is great because Venus and Q take it real serious as far as what it means for the game, and it tells them everything they need to know about who these players are.
Yeah, Q definitely doesn't understand how things relate to Survivor, whether it be hide and seek, liking a player, or anything like that. I actually think like Venus had a way better read on the situation than Q did, because Q's line of the night was, "That's a mistake."
Yeah, which he said a lot about a lot of different things. Yeah, I mean, they're both. They don't. I don't think we should put too much credence on any of this, and they both honestly even miss, as we'll talk about the immunity challenge in a moment. But the one thing I would have taken for this is like, hey, Hunter's pretty good at climbing and holding on to stuff, which that doesn't seem to register with anyone until after he whoops their ass in in the immunity challenge. But it's kind of funny that, I mean, well, like Liz finds Q, and so Liz finally is taken seriously as a player because Q's like, Liz found me, so she's a real player. Mistake. Like, what, isn't that the fucking game? Like, what are you doing? I think Venus is the one that says, which one of them says Tiff is wearing the red buff, which means she's sloppy. Yeah.
She went to hide with a red buff on her head, which means she might miss the finer details.
Yeah, which I was like, it's an incredible read.
Yeah.
If everyone was taking hide and seek serious, if the hide and seek was the immunity challenge, yes, that would be sloppy behavior to wear the bright red buff. But no one's trying to win immunity here. It's just a really fantastic scene. And I appreciate Q, whether it was, I think there might be a production element at play here, maybe, but that Q's like, you know what? This isn't going to go forever. We're just going to pretty quickly say 60 seconds left, find Hunter or Ben, and Hunter and Ben end up winning hide and seek, which again, mistake. You don't want to win hide and seek.
I appreciated when Venus walked under Hunter saying Hunter's hiding somewhere stupid.
Yeah. Which this was also something either Tyson or Johnny Fairplay unfortunately said on that pod, but they did say, it's kind of put forward as like, well, Hunter, wins, he doesn't get found, but he actually did the laziest thing
Yep.
of like, he's the only one that's like, I'm just gonna climb the tree above camp. He's
Yeah,
literally
he didn't go anywhere.
directly above camp. So it's impressive that he can climb the tree, but it is, I did see their point of like, he actually didn't try that hard.
No,
Like, he's the only one that didn't run away.
everyone went horizontal and he went vertical.
Yeah. Um, but this is great. I think every merge, I think they should incorporate hide and seek as an actual immunity challenge or reward challenge at some point. I think Jeff and production should watch this and be like, this is great. We should send like 6 people on a journey next season, and the journey is a game of hide and seek for a reward or something. I think it would be fantastic.
Also, Ben not being found because Ben can play an undercover game. Mistake.
Yeah, but again, I think the only mistake Ben made was, dude, he was buried in that stuff, and
Just with his shirt over his head.
You're used to the bugs and stuff at this point, but like, I don't need to be buried in the brush out there. That sounds itchy and horrible, and yeah, that sounds like you've gotten really comfortable with the bugs and everything. But that's that. We then do get to the real game, the immunity challenge, and we get. Go ahead.
I have to mention this just because it's so dumb. When they find Hunter and Hunter's right above them, Hunter made a mistake, obviously. If I can't find you in hide and seek, I can't find you in this game. If you'd risk climbing a tree, you'd risk taking a shot at me. No?
Or he just likes climbing trees.
Yeah. Or, yeah, like he's an adept climber.
It's not the first tree he's climbed either. I'm pretty sure he's been climbing trees for coconuts for a while for both his tribe and then the entire tribe now.
So committed to that, like, everyone made a mistake except for me.
Yeah. So then they all make a mistake because at the immunity challenge, they're propositioned by Jeff with the rice. No knife this season, which I think he should have just kept that. That should be the new thing. That he should cut it open every time, but he does not. And I saw some of the other funny jokes were like, Jeff should have upped the ante. He should have like shot it or something. Like he should have like brought out a machete and been like, I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to chop it open. Like it's gone. Something. But he does not. He offers, I need 4 of the 10 of you to sit out, or I don't remember him, at least recently, offering this version.
No,
or
this is
if
new.
2 of you will give up your vote, but you get to play the game. And Q and Liz are the only 2 that, step up rather quickly and say, we'll do it.
Yeah.
And no one else will do it. No negotiating. I believe, is it Charlie that
Charlie said
offers,
if somebody else comes out, he will.
Yeah. Which I was pretty surprised at that point then that no one else did.
Yeah.
I think it's a mistake that no one does. I actually agree with maybe not how he handles it afterwards, but the fact that Q and Liz are both very upset afterwards with everyone not realizing like you're not gonna win. Like you should be able to look at this and realize who's gonna do well and who's not, and let's all be honest with ourselves here. Because I think it was pretty clear. The 2 that end up going to the end, Venus and Hunter, I felt like going in was pretty clear those were going to be the 2 that were good. And then Tevin was the question mark. Oh yeah, does Venus get 3rd though?
Yeah.
She looks the most like solid and unfazed until suddenly she didn't. But Tevin was the only other one, because I was like, you either want to just be the best athlete, or long and tall and skinny is ideal for this, to be able to maneuver into different positions and different things, and use leverage and stuff. But do you agree they should have been like, is it poor strategy from like Liz, Ben, Maria, Charlie? I mean, it's hard for Maria. She just won endurance challenge.
Yeah. I mean,
how important is the rice?
I don't think so, but I'm looking at it from a different point of view. I'm looking at it, we just had 2 tribals. Well, I guess technically 3 tribals, 3 blindsides. Mariah's was less of a blindside, but the last 2, absolute blindsides. So I don't even think they're focusing on if we step out, we get rice. I think they're focusing on if we step out, we don't have a chance at immunity. And I have no idea what's going to happen at this next vote, because everything is sort of up in the air. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think once you see everybody like drop, then in retrospect, it's a terrible idea, because like 5 of them were out almost immediately. But I don't think that they felt like they were going to go out. Like, I don't think it was a situation like we're just going to like we're going to be terrible at this, so we'll just step forward. I think it was we all want to play. We just played hide and seek for absolutely nothing, as Charlie said. And I can see that like immunity is important right here because there's a lot of turmoil in camp.
Yeah, it's hard not to. It's hard to. It's always hard to put your mind in like what are they actually thinking and know versus
Yeah.
what we as the viewers think and know. But Mario is the one for me that I was like, I feel like you should feel plenty safe enough and are the one that's smart enough to just. I just thought all of them should have known Hunter's gonna win. Like
Yeah.
this is the one thing they should have taken from hide and seek of like Hunter just climbed that tree, that bare tree, the like bare trunked tree, like 20
Yeah.
feet up in the air. He's clearly got some grip strength and knows how to do this type of stuff and just yeah, but they don't get rice, so no
Nope.
eating for them.
No, that was the thing that Jeff said is that because somebody, I think it was Jay, asked him if this was the only opportunity to get rice, and Jeff said like I can't tell you anything about the game. He's like, but rice will come up again. So I'm assuming there's another. I'm not even going to call it a negotiation because this time it wasn't. It was legitimately I need 4 people. I'm not budging on 4 people. Nobody like not enough people came up. He's like, so I'll pivot. 4 people or 2 people give up their vote. And that still wasn't doing anything. So we just started counting down. It wasn't even like we're going to stab the rice and see how much is left. It was literally just, I'll just sit here and start counting from 10.
Yeah, which there is a little negotiation late. Charlie tries to negotiate at the end.
Exactly.
Which is great.
I mean, Jeff missed an opportunity for that one.
What did you want Jeff to do? Give him something?
I wanted him to give him like 12 grains of rice or something like that.
Or, I mean, Jeff would never do this because it's putting his hand on the scale way too much. It would have been hilarious because Charlie's obviously at the very bottom when that happens and his moments from falling off. And if Jeff would have been like, if Hunter drops right now, I'll give you the rice.
Yeah.
Or whatever, because that's like actually someone has to give something up here. But obviously he would never tip the scales in that way of like, yeah, actually the guy who's seconds from winning, how about you quit?
Yeah.
or something.
Look at the people that have already been taken out. If 4 of you give up your vote, I will give you the rice.
Oh yeah, he could have went with 2 of you could still give up your vote right now. That would have been interesting. Be like, Charlie, hold on as long as you can so we can have this discussion. But
but the negotiation only goes until Charlie drops.
Yeah. But Charlie does drop, as everyone else already had. Hunter wins, and then Hunter does what I think is a very dumb thing.
Worst move of the episode.
I mean, there's a lot of bad moves, so this definitely constitutes a bad move. We'll see later if we decide it's the worst. But yeah, he's like, screw it, I'll hang upside down and show you guys how much better I am at this than you were, which certainly plays in my head of again why I was like, you guys should have known that he was gonna win this one, but it's just like, dude, you've done such a good job of kind of lowering the Hunter is better at all the games than us, like that was in the air. It pretty much evaporated, like it was kind of gone. And if you just win and just drop and act like like kind of put on a little performance of like that was really hard.
He said it wasn't that hard as well.
Yeah,
he was walking away.
Do the opposite of what you do here. Instead of being like, I'm really freaking good at this. I don't know. You guys seem to forgot that I was really good at all this stuff. If you're like, oh damn, okay, I can't believe I finally won. You act all happy about it. I think he would still be in the clear of like, you guys are forgetting that this guy is a huge threat to win a bunch of immunities.
Yeah,
and yeah, he just showboats, and it's just you should never showboat in any way on this show or any of these shows. It's just a horrible idea.
We did miss our Jelinski moment of the episode as well.
He's so gonna be on next season.
It's
just
you mean season 40 several?
Yeah, I don't know. They're already shooting it, casted it? I don't know.
They're planning
it.
I think they're planning it right now.
He's gonna be on it. It's just a foregone conclusion. There's just no way.
The funny thing is like they won't have seen well, I guess they will because they're in production right now, but not actually casting, I don't think. So
yeah, they haven't like filmed it or shot. Yeah, so people
will see
next
several.
season will see it. Yeah. It's always the they do the 2 at a time. So like the
Yeah.
cast of 8 won't have seen several.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh my god, yeah, he was on fire on Twitter as well this
Oh
week.
my God, yes.
He's having a great time with Q's quitting,
Can't spell
which
quit without Q.
yeah, which we'll get to momentarily. We'll discuss the scramble portion first before we get to Q attempting to quit. At the scramble, it's actually fairly straightforward scramble as far
Yeah.
as we get pretty early in it. Q and Liz are pissed. We don't have to go through that again. They deserve it, but maybe cut down how loud and theatrical you are about
Liz
being
more so,
upset.
because Liz legitimately can't eat a lot of things. So that was what I wanted to say as well. I feel bad for Liz because I feel like if she would have said, like, I can't eat most of what we've had, this is my opportunity, I think you might have got maybe enough people swayed, because I don't think they were looking at it from the point of view of Liz can barely eat anything. Even when we do rewards, she can't eat a lot of it. This is an opportunity to help out somebody who could be a jury member.
Yeah, and maybe do you think if she would have hit Jeff hard with like, I'm sitting out and I'm desperate for like others too because like I can't eat or whatever, like, Jeff, are you willing? Charlie said he would do it with another, like, it seems like we can get 3. I feel like Jeff probably still says no, but if she would have played that card and
Yeah.
appealed directly to him, like, will you drop to 3 people because like this means a lot to me? Maybe she was the one that could have had a chance.
I think so, yeah. A lot more than Q.
Yeah. But yeah, so they're all pissed. We get through that. There are some good quotes throughout. There's a lot of quotes to talk about when we do the awards, but it then gets pretty straightforward. Liz, who is, upset that she is not getting credit for the move she thinks she was as much a part of as anyone, decides, I need to get my name out there. I need to start, like, I need these people to take me seriously. I need to be the leader of the next move. She pitches Tevin as the obvious, like, I'm going to get the guy out who, under the radar, everyone will eventually give the credit to, here, and is the biggest threat I could get out, and is from my tribe, et cetera, et cetera. Pitches Tevin. Everyone she talks to Charlie, Ben, and Maria first. They're like, okay, sure. And then Venus, she's in. Ben tells Kenzie, Kenzie's in. Kenzie tells Tiff, she's in. Tiff then even tells Q, who is like, fine, like, okay, fine. And like Q gets off of his, like, we're not going to vote Tiff out. Seems like we're not going to have the numbers. It's very straightforward for once.
It's the thing that I like, and the thing that I think tipped the scale for Q to do what he did later was when Tiff said, flat out, if you don't vote for Tevin, everyone's going to look at you next. Because this is what everybody's doing.
Yeah. Which is, again, she's not just like his number one in name. Against all odds, she is still like being as transparent and giving him as much information as possible. And if he had any real reason to have like been thinking about targeting her, that moment he should be like, oh, what was I doing?
Yeah.
I need this person, like the one person who's truly looking out for me and like telling me when I'm making mistakes. Why would I ever get this person out this early? So he does, at least in this moment, say like, okay, yeah, like, we're good. And he goes and talks to Hunter and tells Hunter, this is what's happening. And there's no, like, we're not going to change it. So let's just go with it and make sure that like we don't hurt our game. And Hunter's like, nah, we're not going to do that. That's my guy. And which leads to one of my favorite moments of the episode, which is Hunter is like, no, we're not doing this. And it's, not very long before tribal council. He storms across the beach, Q right behind him, trying to chase him down. Like, what's going on? And he's like, we're going to talk to Maria, Charlie, and Liz. The 5 of us are going to get together and we're going to talk this out. We're not going to do this. And they storm past Venus, who is like, hey, can I talk to you guys? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
And then Venus is like, what are you guys are going over there to talk? And he's like, yep. And okay, without me there? Yes. He just keeps walking, which I thought was just hilarious. Not great strategy.
But great television.
Great television. And I do think this is all happening within like production's already given them the we're leaving in
Yeah.
5 minutes, whatever it is. And so
Well,
I
yeah.
think that plays in Hunter's like, I don't think Hunter would do this if he thought he had more time.
No, it's
Um,
usually like they can. I think it was Dwight who talked about it in his exit press, where one of the things that screwed them up when I think it was when they did either the double tribal or when just a tribe, like one of their first tribals on the new beach, is you get so used to where the sun is when production tells you it's time to go to tribal. So they're already on Nami Beach, like they never left. So the Nami players have been there the whole time. And one of the things that Venus says is like the sun's getting close to going down. We're gonna have to go to tribal soon. And I think that's more of a testament to we've been on this beach the whole time. We know if we go to tribal, this is roughly where the sun is when we go to tribal, and it's about there.
mhm. Yeah. And I think they're legit told then too, like
Yeah.
certain minute warnings and
Oh yeah.
everything. And they were definitely near it here. And this is the moment where I think Venus actually plays this portion exactly right, because we get so Hunter, Q, Maria, Charlie, and Liz are now sitting talking, and I think at some point Tevin joins, or I don't know what. Tevin's like off on his own. I think at
Tevin's
this
at the
point,
he's at the
camp
shelter.
by himself, just chilling, which is not ideal. um, but then Venus, who's just been told, no, you cannot come be a part of this conversation,
You can't sit with us.
stands with Kenzie, a true you can't sit with us, like literally. Venus, Kenzie, and Ben are, and Tiff, I think, is maybe there too, are sit and watch then from, 50 feet away down the beach. And Venus and Kenzie and Ben do a good job of like, okay, well, let's all see this for what it is now. Like those five are not obviously isn't an obvious enough word to use in this situation. Like those five are working together and are trying to put together the last minute plan,
And they keep
we're the
pointing at
ones
us.
not in that group. So that means we're kind of a group because
Yeah.
there's five of them and there's four of us, and then wherever the hell Tevin is, who we want to vote out or whatever. And I think Venus handles that well of like, this group, let's all acknowledge that we're all now the outcast kind of from the group that thinks they're running things. But then I also love that she's like, I'm gonna go over there, screw this, like what you said I'm not allowed, who cares? And so she walks over and she is told to leave again. But I think in that moment, like, is the right thing to do of like, what you can't like physically remove, like what do you I'm gonna come ask, I'm gonna say what's up, like, and it's all kind of a big mess, but it's a very entertaining mess.
Including Kenzie's Hunter's talking strategy.
Yeah, I I do think Hunter has been laying low in that respect.
Yeah.
And so yeah, maybe turn the game up a little and the showboating down a little, and you find a nice equilibrium. Hunter,
Christmas got canceled again as well.
Oh my dude, Christmas got canceled like 4 times in this episode.
I know, and I think next week too.
Yeah, it's in the trailer for next week. So I think we have canceled Christmas 4 or 5 times at some point in this season. But Tribal is not canceled.
Nope.
And they go to Tribal, and we assume again, like, while Hunter has made this last ditch effort, it still seemed pretty like it wasn't very effective. And it's like, okay, like everyone wants Tevin, and that's kind of where this is going. But it immediately starts with Q saying, no, Jeff, we're not talking about the rice negotiation. We're going to talk about how I'm going home tonight. Everyone should vote for me. I made a mistake, and so I deserve to go home. And my only wish is that everyone else will start playing the game better and more often when I leave. Like, this is a fresh start for all of you guys to play the game the right way. I'll leave, and then you can do that. None of it makes any sense.
No, at all.
None of it.
Clearly. And it's not been talked about before at all.
So that's the one question. You listened to On Fire.
Yep.
Did they say anything about if Jeff or production had any inkling, any idea that Q was going to do this in advance?
No, I mean, like,
the other way.
They basically said, like, it doesn't matter what Q says to other players, what Q says to production, or anything else. Q is going to do what Q's going to do in the moment. And, like, Jeff never took it as a quit. Like, never perceived it to be a true quit. And he said, like, he said, I don't know if that's just my misread of Q as a player, because he's so competitive that I don't see him ever actually just up and quitting, or what it was. And to me, like, I think it was intentional, but I don't know what the intention was. Like, I think that he absolutely was trying to make a calculated move, but I have no idea what the calculation actually was, unless it was everybody vote me out so that he can get more votes on him, so that there are fewer votes going to, I think, going to Tiff so that they can vote Tevin. I don't know. Like, I cannot figure it out for the life of me, but I don't think that he was ready to walk out of the game. I just don't know what he was actually trying to do at all.
Yeah. Well, my question, which then became the same question that they got fixated on for way too long, but on Pod Has Spoken, was Tyson and Johnny Fairplay were both like, was there ever, did Q talk about this to anyone, cast or production, in advance? Because if they did, then that's a big decision by production and editing to not show us that,
Yeah.
to kind of just create this super chaotic thing without like telling the story of like that this was going to happen. Or did he straight up not, and they landed on like, we assume this was truly in the moment, he had not spoken about this to anyone at any point, and that's why it was such a like, we
Well,
have
yeah.
no idea as viewers, they had no idea, no one had any idea
And he
going
said,
in.
like, nobody that's sitting here knew that they were going to vote for me when they came in, and there are at least 5 people here who don't know who they're voting for, and now I'm asking for those votes to be on me. And like, Kenzie raised a super valid point of, you're saying that this is a restart for our game, but what if you're part of my plan 5 plans from now? Like, that's not fair to me. That's making me start over from the bottom. So you leaving, and Charlie said it too, like, you can take responsibility for a move going the wrong way and still remain in the game. Like, you don't have to remove yourself from it because you made an oopsie.
Yeah. I mean, if I wanted to come up with like, there was a secret plan underneath this, which I don't believe there was, but if I had to come up with one, the it would have been, if Q does this and Hunter is going to play his idol on Q, to
Yeah.
be like, yeah, with me and you, everyone wants to do something that we disagree with. So I'm going to tell everyone to vote for me. And they know I don't have an idol. They don't know that like you and I are close or whatever. And so they
Yeah.
all vote for me. You play your idol on me, and it's me and you get to pick who gets actually voted out. But I don't think that is the case, because Hunter is the most, everyone is super annoyed with what happens, but Hunter is the most.
The most annoyed.
And he also does have the advantage of like, he is safe. And so he can actually just be purely annoyed and not be concerned with like, is this somehow, some way going to end up on me? But he is, of all the great memes and gifts we get out of this, him with his hand in his face saying this is the dumbest thing ever is just all time.
Yeah.
But did you enjoy the chaos of all of it? Like, it is really entertaining, but do you enjoy, again, the question they were asking on Pod Has Spoken that I had to then like think about afterwards was like, it was just really chaotic, and it wasn't our typical like storytelling going in.
Yeah.
And so is this great one time? If they tried to make this happen more often, would that be not great? Like, what were your feelings on it becoming like the most true actual mess? No one seems to have any idea what to do for a 3-4 minute live tribal span as I've ever seen.
Yeah, so I hate live tribals. I hate whispering at tribal, because that resulted in one of my all-time favorite players going out by a player that I'm not as big on anyway. And it also introduced whispering at tribal to be a thing. Thank you, JT. So for that, I don't. As far as like this game, this episode, only in this pocket, I don't think it needed to happen. It was just his way to sort of try to regain control of the narrative of the vote, so that I assume if he gets to a final tribal, this will be explained as to why he did what he did, and I'm sure he'll have a reason by then, even if he has to think of it between now and then. Um, but I don't think any of it was necessary. It just confused everybody. It probably shook the majority of his alliances. No one's going to really want to work with him anymore because he is such a wild card. So I think as much as he felt that it was going to help his game, it ultimately like absolutely hurt his game. And it worked in Charlie's favor because Charlie potentially gained an ally in Tiff in saying like, you don't need to play it. We've got what we're going to do. Q told us that you have your idol.
Yeah. Which, if he would have had any bridges left, it maybe would have been with Tiff, but it is very much not now because she now knows not only did he target you, but he told everyone about your idol and all the rest. Yeah, I think if anyone wins in this situation, it's Charlie. I don't know. I mean, I'm fascinated to hear Q's what he says early in next episode as far as what the goal was here, if he really wanted to go, if he comes up with there was some plan that we won't believe, but like I'm still interested to know what he's gonna say, because there's no version of this that helps him in any way. And so which is why I think like he actually was planning on like, I'm gonna say this and then you guys are all gonna vote for me. It's not like I don't think he was expecting what happens to happen. Which is that Tevin gets voted out. Everyone still votes for Tevin, including Q, by the way, which like, write your own name down. You're allowed.
No, you're
like,
not.
Come on. You're not?
Nope. That was one of the things in On
so
Fire because Jay specifically asked Jeff if you can write your own name down and you're not allowed.
Oh, well, don't write Tevin's then, dude. You know, right? Just write someone random.
Or write Tiff's if that's really what you want to do.
Yeah. But so Tevin goes out and everyone's all up in mess. I will also give the quick shout out. I had forgotten, but was reminded, many people pointed out on Twitter again. Kenzie did call this when it was either last episode or 2 episodes ago. Her and Tiff were just talking about like Q's kind of getting a little on our nerves, and Kenzie's like, yeah, I bet he'll try to like fall on his sword and like ask us to vote him out sometime, like you know, like he did that one time. It's like he literally did the next episode. Like, you've got to be kidding me. But yeah, so Tevin's gone, which is a huge loss as far as personality on the season, but thankfully we are not short of that with this group left. So, and last thing I'll say, because I'll probably forget to bring it up, I thought of it earlier. It is bad for Venus, and she maybe shouldn't have targeted Tevin immediately after Soda, because Tevin being the second one to go to Ponderosa and see Soda, I know they're not supposed to talk about the game or whatever, but they're gonna somehow, some way. And like, his first thing, if they're allowed to talk at all, is, I'm the one that got you out. Like, that wasn't Venus. I'm sorry. She like, he's gonna frame it as like she had nothing to do with it. Like, that was me, and like Liz and Charlie and Maria agreed. Like, sorry about that. Which is gonna be really bad for Venus. That, you know, that maybe that happens anyways, but it certainly happens if Tevin is now the only person there with Soda.
And I think I said it last week, and if not, I said it when we were watching it last week. Soda was not the right move for Tevin because it removed the person in front of him. She was his like social player shield. And I think that much the same, Venus didn't target him, Liz did. It's perfect for Liz. It's great gameplay for Liz because Liz takes him out, and then Venus and Hunter are presumed to be ahead of her, versus Venus, who took out basically the next bigger player, which arguably she's probably next if you're aiming at people on Nami to try to just take them out. Yeah.
I think Liz is in a good spot, although she to a lesser degree than Venus, but also is hurt by if Soda now is completely convinced like this was Tevin and Tevin only, and like there's no getting credit for this later, but she's not going to need it because now she has Tevin, and if she gets to final 3, she'll have had something else between now and then that is, you know, more important than I was one of the people that wanted Soda out at the beginning. So that's that. Let's go ahead and move on to the awards. All right, best quote first, and there was quite a few from the episode. I, as usual, did not actually put them in a nice list, so I'm going to have to scroll through my notes here. Why don't you go ahead first? What were some of the standout quotes for you from the episode? I think we mentioned a couple
I
during
think
that
so, yeah,
walkthrough,
just kind of
but I think
throughout.
we've got a lot to go still.
When Kenzie asked Jeff how long he thought he could stay up there, and his response was longer than 20 seconds. I would like to see it, but also was amazing. I also enjoyed the response of no Q skirt for you, Jeff, followed by Liz's no discount, no nothing.
That was good. Yeah, I like
And
that.
I did like Charlie's what about the next one? Survivor 40 several, which is just great all around. And I appreciate how many people corrected Jeff when he said 7 and they corrected him with several, because it was like a chorus of people that all said several. It is firmly, as Jeff mentioned, in the vocabulary now. And there were 3 instances of this is the dumbest thing ever. There was Hunter, and then Kenzie, and then Ben said dumbest tribal ever. But my favorite is, it's a Ben line again, when they were in the midst of this whole thing exploding at tribal, and all he said simply was pointing in Q's direction and said, "I do not care for the shenanigans."
Yeah. Oh, geez, shenanigans they were. That's for sure. I will add to that with, well, I had referenced earlier Charlie's. We're not the first 6 to say let's get to final 6 and duke it out, but
Yep.
something always goes awry. Am I the thing that goes awry? Which is fantastic. And then, um, the where is he here? Okay, so then Q, when he's all upset on the beach, it's a long one, but I enjoyed it. All these people that want to try the challenge, bro, it was just idiotic. This man in a game of hide and seek chose to hide in a tree. You think you're going to hang on a pole longer than Tarzan? Get the hell out of Dodge. They could cancel Christmas. They think they're going to hang on that tree longer than that boy. So anytime cancel Christmas comes up is just really, really great. And then the back and forth of, can we talk to them real quick? Oh, without me there? Yes, as Hunter storms by Venus. And then all the ones that you said. Do you have a favorite of all of those?
I'm a lover of shenanigans, so I'm going to definitely give it to Ben with I don't care for the shenanigans.
Okay, I'll agree with you on that one. It doesn't feel right to give Q an award necessarily for anything in this episode, so we'll give it to Ben. As for best moment of the episode, we've talked about a majority of them. I will highlight my favorites. Probably were, I mean, I enjoy all of the hide and seek, the entire
Yeah.
game in general, which I think is great. If I had to pick a specific one, maybe Venus. My favorite of all the overreads of hide and seek was the red buff is sloppy. It's just really good. I liked Charlie negotiating with Jeff as he was moments away from losing, which I found
Get you
very,
right where I
very
want
funny.
you, Jeff.
Yeah. The Hunter Venus moment that we just referenced, and then also the actual voting, and Charlie specifically, but Charlie and Tevin, I think both do a really funny, like, break the fourth wall, look right at the camera, and like Charlie's was just like a shrug, like an exasperated, like, you've got to be fucking kidding me kind of shrug. Charlie, for like the 7th time this season, breaks the fourth wall and is always, he knows where the cameras are and he uses them, and he does so very, very well. So I liked, of the entire chaotic tribal council, Charlie's the new gif of Charlie just like shrugging at the camera in the voting booth will stay with me for a while.
Followed by Hunter's whatever. Just like so dejected, holding the parchment and putting it in. Mine were quite simply like Charlie's rice negotiation and the voting montage, and then of course like all of hide and seek.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have to give it to hide and seek just in general, because it was pretty standout. It was just really great. Best gameplay. Did anyone have good gameplay this episode?
Liz getting Tevin out, like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
She acknowledged
her idea.
She acknowledged that she was never going to get the credit as long as Tevin was in the game. She can discredit Venus in the game just based on the social perception, but getting Tevin out was mandatory if she wanted any claim to that move. And now she also has the move of getting out Tevin. Um, and she did it on the sly. Like, I think almost everybody else thought it was their idea, but she can pull that thread back to her, which is key. And then Charlie telling Tiff at Tribal that she's safe, that she doesn't have to play it, that they have figured it out. Not giving anyone else agency, but like, we've got this covered. You don't need to burn your idol. We know you have it. Q told us, but we got you. And the only other thing on top of that was Tiff. It was such a throwaway thing. Like, I totally missed it the first time through, but Tiff was talking about Tevin's extra vote and how it gets so much more important as the numbers dwindle down. So it's better to get him and the extra vote out right now. And that's huge, because if you get down to the last time that they can use it, that could upset an entire alliance.
Yeah, I forgot I in all of the chaos, I had forgotten that he had that extra vote, and that Tiff did astutely point that out. Yeah, if you use that at 7 or 6, like that becomes incredibly valuable. Yeah, I think it's got to be Liz, but I think everything you point out is also, Charlie and Tiff had strong moments. But yeah, Liz made the big move and pulled it off, and did so in a very smart way, and weathered the Q trying to quit storm and all, to get the job done. So definitely her. I don't think we have to discuss worst gameplay. I mean, I actually do. Is as much as Q has been up for worst gameplay before, and he was going into this tribal sitting in a like really good spot.
Yeah.
I feel like he had as strong of alliances as anyone in the game, and he had done the first really good move, I thought, of his, of going to Hunter and being like, our plan isn't going to work. We've got to do what they want this time.
Yeah.
And so I was like, you're actually in as good of a situation as anyone on this beach right now, against all odds, against you playing way harder than everyone else. You are sitting very good, and you literally blow it up. There is no chance Q is we'll discuss if we think there's any chance he even gets through next episode, or if next episode is going to be super boring, just the way the Banu episode was, of like, we know who's going home here. But yeah, so we don't need to no one deserves to be nominated up against Q in worst gameplay for the episode.
I will give an honorable mention to Hunter not downplaying the fact that he could have been up there for way longer and said it was a cakewalk. Obviously, it does not override Q. Although, if it wasn't for Hunter, then a lot of this doesn't actually transpire, because if he doesn't go storming up the beach, shut out Venus, shut out that other group, and try to change it off of Tevin, then I don't know that Q does that, because they just sort of let it ride.
Yeah, because it probably was that thought, because Q, it seems the mistake he is referencing is, it does seem like he's going back on, like, I shouldn't have put Tiff up.
Yeah,
like,
I shouldn't have put Tiff up. I shouldn't have told Hunter, because he said, like, after he did it, his token phrase was, that was a mistake. And he said that he should have just not told Hunter that it was going to be Tevin. But also, yeah, going against Tiff to begin with, like, a gross error in judgment.
Yeah, I think it was that moment that convinced him to change. It should be mentioned. And the other thing, it's the last, I know I've brought it up like 4 other times, but I hadn't thought of until Tyson mentioned the whole, like, when they bring up the records on this show for different challenges, they really need to shout out the 2 people. They should say, this person has the record and this person was who they beat, because it takes 2 people breaking a record to be able to set a new one, because once you've won, you get down. And like, he referenced, like, who knows how long Hunter could have done this for. But he only is asked to do it for 25 minutes or whatever it was, versus the hours that people have done it before. And I also did see I wasn't watching the season where, was it Parvati that I saw the images of, just like casually standing on this thing? Those poles, the holes used to be so much deeper.
Yeah, they said
that picture of
said that they're smaller now.
Yeah, the holes are smaller, and the pole itself is wider. It's harder to get your arms around. Because that picture of her going around, I'm like, that's cool, but like, her foot fits in there. It's, you know, so like, yeah, of course, she's literally standing in that thing. And these people are struggling to put a toe inside of this. And I felt there was a couple different people. I don't even know whose feet it was, but as someone with horrible bunions whose, you know, big toes are crooked inwards, I'm like, yeah, I couldn't get a toe in there. Mine don't fit because they don't go straight, unfortunately. Like, this is made for D and her big toe energy, and that's it.
Exactly.
So MVP of the episode, like, I don't know where to go with this one.
Man, I will start. I'm going to give it to Liz because beginning to end, she did what she had to do to get the job done. I will give honorable mention to Charlie for just the social game that was shown in this episode in particular. He's got a really good read and a really good relationship with everyone. It's going to come back to bite him, but I don't know if it's going to come back to bite him fast enough to get him out of Final Tribal.
Yeah, well, that's all. You know, you lean the gameplay side. I mean, it's not. It has to be Q. He set some kind of confessional record this episode, or almost set a confessional record this episode, and he instigated hide and seek, and he instigated whatever the hell we want to call it, that tribal council. So worst gameplay we've maybe ever seen, but but as far as entertainment, this episode did deliver on the interest in entertainment, and it was mostly thanks to him being completely and utterly insane. So I will give my MVP to Q. And now let's talk about something Q will not be a part of, which is our power rankings. He will be a part of our predictions, though. So the only prediction question is what we referenced before. Q's obviously going to go home next episode. Is there any way in hell, I guess maybe if everyone's like, so Q's not going to win this game, so like, you know, they do an even more version of what they've done with Venus recently, of like, we know what that is, we know who that is, we know that maybe this group isn't vibing with it, so like, we're not that worried. I guess that's his only path to lasting more than one more vote, is like, no one here is going to let you win. No one's going to vote for you at Final Tribal, no matter what happens. So like, you can hang out because we have bigger fish to fry. But like, I don't know. I feel like it's just going to be everyone's like, let's send this guy home, and it's just kind of a long march of an episode.
Yeah, I think that everyone is more is tired of his antics as well. So that's what's going to be the nail in the coffin. Not so much specifically the gameplay, but like, I can't rely on what this person is going to do in the run of a day, and we need to kind of quell that. So I would say an immunity run. I would say if they don't feel that he's as big of a target as...
Do you mean to say he's going to try in the immunity challenge now?
Well, yeah, he might throw it to show that his alliance is stronger than everyone thinks his alliance is. But otherwise, he's already said, man, like, he's going to be able to beat Hunter whenever the need arises. So he just has to step up and get it done.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I hadn't even considered like he could win immunity.
It's very telling.
Which I think we've done back-to-back endurance challenges. So this next one I feel like is for sure going to be
a puzzly,
more of either a puzzle or a throw shoot things at the end of, like, you know, start in the ocean, end on the beach.
Yeah.
Three phase course of some kind. Which would be better for him certainly. Then I don't know that he's going to win the puzzles, and I think we've seen the endurance challenges, depending if it's balance or athleticism, is going to be Hunter and Maria kind of, and maybe Venus sneakily kind of vying for most of those wins. Well,
and Kenzie too a bit.
Yeah. So who's your new top 5? Because I feel like things definitely shook up, and I feel like we're getting a little bit more of a clear picture. And unlike last week, I'm nervous. Last week I was feeling like I was going to get my winner pick right, and Maria fell pretty far down my power rankings this week.
She fell off of mine.
Oh my god! Yeah, I'm going to type mine right now as you say yours. But I don't know that she's even maybe in mine either, because I feel like we've had people kind of vault up to like they're in an awesome position, and the rest of them maybe can't say that.
Well, and not only that, but like so the secret scene that we didn't really talk about was her pushing Ben about what happened at the tribal, and then also whether or not he had Tim's idol, which Tim never had, Jem always had, and left with it. So, like, Ben can't produce an idol that he does not have, and he can't give her information that he does not have. But she rode him really hard, and it was a bad
And
read.
says in
Yeah,
confessional, then I don't believe him, and I think
yeah,
yeah, she's just completely wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
And, like, he's not telling me things, I can't trust him now, and Ben's doing his best to just, like, that is a terrible position to be in as a person, especially if you're someone who's like as seemingly genuine as Ben, to be like, I don't know what I can tell you so that you believe me, because all I'm telling you right now is the absolute truth. This is all that I know. I don't have it. As far as I know, Tim didn't have it. I don't know who has it. I don't know where it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know how it is. And in that moment, Ben's sort of completely on the bottom. And Charlie goes and just hangs with him in the ocean, and they have their conversation. And Ben said, "Who's got me?" Meaning, who's got my back in this game? And it was a little bit soul crushing because I adore Ben, and I really liked Maria's gameplay up to this point. And then it just one moment just totally, like, it was a bad read and it was a bad tactic. So I think with how close Ben is to Kenzie now, because we've seen that a couple of times since she helped him through his panic attack, I could see him being like, yo, like, Maria really went at me. And I can see some people not jiving with that. So I think that she's playing a little bit more aggressively than she was. And that's where she dipped a little bit and just like bad read, a bit too aggressive. And she could bounce back next week. Like, they could have another conversation where it's like all mended. But for right now, she hurt my feelings because she was mean to Ben. And nobody's mean to Ben on my watch. So I've got Tiff in my first spot. I'm still riding with that. She's got a good game going. She seems to be really aware of the different machinations that are going on at camp, even if she didn't know that Q was coming after her. Followed by, I think Liz has a good shot because people are kind of sleeping on Liz right now, but she's actually making moves that she can speak to. So I've got Tiff, Liz, Charlie, Kenzie, and Ben.
Okay. We have very different lists, actually. Wait. Say yours one more time.
Tiff, Liz, Charlie, Kenzie, Ben.
Okay, so we have 4 of the 5 people the same, but in a different order. So it's not as different. It just the different order threw
Right.
me off as I listened to yours and looked at mine, and it seemed like it was completely different. But I unfortunately have your guy Ben in the group with Q's in his own group now of like legitimately 0% chance of winning.
Yep.
I just can't fathom a world where anyone is willing to vote for him now after that. Like it would be the most shocking thing maybe in the history of competitive reality television. If they were all like, we'll look past that you did that and we'll vote for you to win. So he's in a group all of his own, but then I have Ben, Hunter, and Maria kind of in the group of like, I'm starting to not really see it, which
it's
is
a tough way forward.
Sucks for me to say about Maria, but also for Hunter. The one thing you referenced this episode, Kenzie, doing the joke of like Hunter is talking strategy, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It is, you can't be the person who relies so heavily on like, I'm really good at all the games and like I'm just not gonna, like, he is the embodiment. I've seen a lot of different cast members say like he feels like he's from the first 20 seasons of Survivor, of like the guy who's like, I'm actually into like living on the island and playing the games and kind of hanging out and like, you know, I don't want to get voted out or anything, but like I'm not that interested in this like fast-paced strategic thing.
Yeah.
But like it feels like unless he, maybe this is the spur he needs, because it's by no means too late to like start making moves. We're now entering, I think, the next, you know, basically from 9 to 5, I think those are the 4 votes that are like the biggest, end up mattering at the final tribal more than anything. But it just feels like he's going to be too laid back to like have much of an argument at the end other than like I won a bunch. Did you guys
Yeah.
see how good I was? Like, okay, yeah, cool. So I have those four clearly as the kind of like I need to see a lot from you in the next episode or whatever to think there's a path. I have Tiff in fifth, which is your first, because I do. While I think she has maybe the best read on everything that's going on, she also is like the one kind of doing the least with that
Yeah.
information. I have Venus in fourth, Charlie in third, Kenzie in second, Liz in first. Uh, Liz does now have the biggest thing. If they went to a tribal right now, like she would, that definitely could change, but deservedly gets first because of that. And then Charlie would be like the one I think is actually the best right now, but I do think a little bit more than Kenzie or Liz is going to be acknowledged as
Yeah.
Charlie's kind of starting to wipe the floor with all of us as far as how good he is at this, and is gonna supersede Kenzie or Liz in being Liz for sure, but Kenzie even I think has maybe we just haven't heard it the last couple episodes, but was the one that, the whole thing, the whole time with her tribe, and then immediately going into the merge was like social butterfly. Everyone loves her, big threat because of it. I feel like that has died down. And is going to be less than Charlie maybe. So I've got Liz, Kenzie, and Charlie and Venus and Tiff. And I think Venus can straight up win. And I am 100% rooting for Venus at this point in time.
So
that is who I want to win unquestionably now.
I don't know that she can, and I think David Bloomberg had mentioned this on Why Blank Lost, and it is a frame of thought that I subscribe to, which is that based on Venus's feelings outside of the game, like based on her social media presence, based on the fact that like everyone else went to the Ron Clark Academy and she went to one of the Bryson Wen events, she seems very salty with her with her cast, and I wouldn't be surprised if that is equated to a no vote finalist, but that feels that she played the best game but wasn't acknowledged for it, and wasn't at Ponderosa to understand other people's view of her in the game or view of how the game was played. So she doesn't have that background on it, that she sat at Tribal, she did not win, and then they did the Q&A thing afterwards, and then she may never have talked to them again.
Yeah.
That's why I have Ben above her in regards to that, because really, if you look at who's left, Q's not winning. I can't see Maria or Hunter winning at this point. And then Venus is that other person where I'm like, I can see her going to the end. I can't see people not respecting, because respecting isn't the right word, because she's played a great game, but I don't see people wanting to reward her game in the moment on the beach with the million.
Yeah, if they already have in their head the running thing is like she's a little bit of a snake, and we know who she is, and she's fine to have around because we've all kind of conceded the part of that. That turns into, if she is there at 5, 4, 3, turns into, well, we all kept her here for a reason, right? So no, yeah, it's because no one was worried about her winning, and it turns into that.
It could be a brutal tribal too. If that's the case, I can see it being a really uncomfortable final tribal.
Yeah, and your point is very good of trying to read into how she has interacted after the show. It does very much feel like a 0 vote finalist that rightly feels there was a lot of unfair perceptions made, but never got the chance to go find out the portion of the perceptions that were maybe fair, or just you would empathize with if you just understood where the other people were coming from and could fill in that chart where in your mind you think 100% unfair and treated unfairly. And it's like, there was definitely some of that. And I will say there's a lot of that going on with Venus from the audience, and maybe even some with the cast. But that most of the cast isn't. And yeah, if she never ends up in Ponderosa, she can never fill in why did Tevin, in her mind, it's like Tevin treated me like shit for no reason or whatever. And it's like, no, he saw you as an actual threat, and he just, the way the game goes, you decide some people are with you and some you're against others. And that's just how that went. yeah, I think that's our new prediction. I
Yeah.
think is Venus is a 0 vote finalist,
So does
or
so does Exit Press.
could
Kind of
be
like
even
that
worse
too.
if what if she was like a Cassidy situation
Yeah.
and was a second place, where it was like, I feel like I should have won, and you guys, I didn't win because you guys don't like me, and it wasn't because of the game. It was because a bunch of you decided you don't want me, the person, to win, type of situation. Which,
And I could see that, and like I always go back to excuse me. I could
who
always
would
go.
be the Gabler in that situation? There's no one here that would be like a Gabler, where you'd be like, you could have people like me be like, he actually deserved to win.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, we can calm down a little bit, but I get why everyone's like, that fucking guy, like, really, or whatever. Like, there isn't
Q.
Q. If Q won
Yeah.
over Venus, and I don't even know, and Hunter sat there saying this is the dumbest thing ever next to both of them.
Like that's the thing, man. Like it's one of those situations where I always go back to Redemption Island, Boston Rob's winning season, where one of the guys on the jury stood up and said, like, let's get this out of the way right on top. Rob played the better game. He played every single one of us, and if you don't vote for him, it's because you're bitter. It's not because he didn't play the best game. And I don't think that Venus would have that advocate on the jury.
No.
Based on the people that are on the jury right now, based on the people that are left in the game and their perception of her, albeit not totally accurate, I can see kind of a Cassidy
She'd have
situation.
to create it, and I would think her only chance at even creating that would be Kenzie.
Yeah.
Like, if she could befriend Kenzie and again get the, appeal to, like, we get some of the same pretty social girl type of thing. Like, this is my tribe doesn't like me because of this. And yeah, I think Kenzie's the only one she maybe even would have a chance at, like, could I befriend you enough and get you to empathize with me enough, but then vote you out so that you're my advocate on jury? Yeah. Well, but that seems pretty far-fetched. So
it's a lot of moving pieces in order to get it right. The other thing
you've maybe convinced me to move her down into the bottom group. It might just be Liz, Kenzie, Charlie, and Tiff, I feel like, are the four.
And I mean, like, that's
real players.
That is no discredit to Venus's game. It's just my perception of the people still in the game, in that game, and also just my perception of how she's been interacting on social media.
Yeah.
That I feel that I don't know that she's got that lock.
Yeah. Well, I'm still rooting for sure.
Absolutely.
And
same.
I'm also rooting for her, as was proven with, we just made the Cassidy reference. We'll do at the end of the season, who do I need to see on the challenge? But if they do another Challenge USA season, or if they just seem to bring the CBS people into all versions of the challenge, which is they're now doing, holy shit, do I need Venus in a challenge house?
That'd be amazing.
I need a few people from this cast, but she number one. I need Venus. Well, and the other Kenzie is the other one. I need Venus and Kenzie in a challenge house like yesterday. They should have been on season 40. They should fly them in as mercenaries for season 40, but social mercenaries. They shouldn't play the game. They should just be dropped into the house for a week and be like, whatever happens, but they're just here. They're just gonna live with you guys for a week. That
would be amazing. I would like that twist. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say, I think that what happened with Q and his the Journey Alliance, like the 3+1 or whatever, the 6 whatever. I don't remember what they called it. The 6. But I think what he did was he inadvertently created another alliance, because when you create an alliance and you pick these people and the only other people that are left are roughly the same number as those ones, you're like, okay, by making my alliance of people I want to work with, I've just made an entire group of people dislike the people that I'm with.
Yeah, and there was 6 of them out of 12.
Yep.
And then he voted one of his own out during a double elimination.
Yep.
To go, instead of going from 6 out of 12 to 6 out of 10, went from, we have 6 out of 12, now we have 5 out of 11.
Yeah.
Or 5 out of 10. We continue to only have half. And so, like, we not only created that other alliance, but we created an equal sized alliance against us. And then we allowed that to remain equal through a double vote.
The irony being that this is the first episode that all 3 members of Yanu have been up for potentially being voted out since the merge. merge in
Yeah.
quotations.
And he, of course, immediately goes for one of them. So,
Yeah.
yeah, great stuff from him. Great stuff from the episode. Great stuff from you, Tony. And great stuff from all of you, the listener. Did we have any listener questions?
We did.
Okay, let's hit those quickly.
Jen just wanted to know how misused Jeff's statement of "this has never happened before" was.
He doesn't say this has never happened. He says, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this.
Yes. So,
which is true and accurate. Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen anything like this, and I've watched as many seasons as he's been a part of.
Yeah. A true, someone tries to quit, full live tribal, half of the cast just sitting muttering, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And then it's still ending up going the way that it walked in there thinking it would go after all of that. So I think it was an accurate, and I did not feel like they misled us or lied to us in any way with the promotion of the episode. I think they backed it up.
Soda gave an amazing look at Q when he walked by to go to the voting booth. This like raised eyebrow, like, what the hell are you doing look? Or possibly even a how are you still in this game and I'm over here look. But I felt that it needed to be mentioned because it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And also will be fantastic. One of the other many funny things that was on Twitter was multiple references to we need to see the musical that inevitably Soda and Tevin started writing at Ponderosa while they were hanging out there. And I am all for that. So that's episode number 8. We've got 4 episodes left, right? So they have 9 left. So we go 9 to 8, 8 to 7, 7 to 6, and then 6 to the end in one episode.
I think it's 5 to the end. So
okay, so 5 episodes left, 4 episodes left. There might be a double elimination in there again at some point, but either way, we will be back each and every weekend to cover it all as it goes down and see who we can crown as the winner. But our girl Liz sitting on top right now, sitting pretty. Absolutely love it. Follow, subscribe, rate, and review, all those good things. DM both of us. Instagrams are in the show notes if you have questions, if you want to talk Survivor, challenge, or otherwise. And until we talk again next week.